motherfucker! After reviewing one of the Scorpions albums previously on my album review series, I thought today I'd rank all 19 Scorpions studio albums. The Scorpions are a hard rock / heavy metal band from Germany, founded in the mid-1960s by Rudolf Schenker and his brother Michael Schenker. The Scorps weren't a complete band until 1969, 1970, or 1971, depending on who you talk to about it. And honestly, I haven't listened to much of the most recent Scorpions albums after 2000 until recently. So let's get down with the list. At 19 is Rock Believer. This is the Scorpions' recent album. It's their 19th studio effort, and to be honest, I haven't listened to many of the songs as of late. The tracks that stood out were Peacemaker, Seventh Son, Rock Believer, the title track, and Shining of Your Soul. Since its late February 2022 release, Rock Believer received mostly positive reviews, made it to number 2 on the German album charts, number 18 in the UK album charts, but only reached number 59 on the Billboard 200. In quotation, number 2 on Billboard's top hard rock albums at number 2, and on the Billboard's top rock albums at number 9, I believe. Next, number 18 is Lonesome Crow. This was the album that started off for them. Released in February of 1972 in their home country of Germany, it would be released in the United States in May of 1973. The standout tracks on its debut album are I'm Going Mad and In Search of Peace of Mind. It's the only Scorpions record to feature Michael Schenker on guitars alongside his brother Rudolph. Next, at number 17 is Fly to the Rainbow. It's the Scorpions' second album, released in November of 1974, the first to feature guitarist Uli Jon Roth and bassist Francis Buchholz. The only track that stood out was Speedy's Comin'. Everything else I did not care for. It made it to number 83 on the Japanese album chart. Next, number 16 is Eye to Eye. It's the Scorpions' 14th studio record, released on March 9th, 1999. Now this album had some pretty damn good songs like To Be Number One, Skyrider, 10 Light Years Away, but to many, it was the Scorpions' weakest album from the 90s. It was the first to feature James Kotak, may he rest in peace, on drums, and the last to feature bassist Ralph Riekerman. Next, at number 15 is Return to Forever. Released on February 20th, 2015. At the time, the Scorpions didn't know if they were ever going to do a tour again. However, when they released this album, it was like the band had returned to form. The standout tracks include Gypsy Life, We Built This House, and Eye of the Storm. It reached number 2 in their home country of Germany, while it reached number 65 on the Billboard 200. Next, number 14 is Sting in the Tail, their 17th album, and we all thought it would be their last record since they weren't doing a farewell tour at the time. Released on March 14th, 2010, surprisingly, the album reached number 23 on the Billboard 200, number 2 on the Billboard rock charts, while it reached number 2 in their home country of Germany. The title track, Raised on Rock, and The Good Die Young were standout tracks. This album was initially supposed to be Humanity Hour 2, but since then, those plans were scrapped. Next, speaking of Humanity, Humanity Hour 1 reached number 13. Released in Europe in May of 2007, August 28, 2007 in North America. This was a concept album based on a loose storyline by songwriting hitmaker Desmond Child. I did not care for it at all, despite the standout tracks Humanity and Love Will Keep Us Alive. Since its release, it reached number 63 on the Billboard 200, 7 on the Billboard Top Rock Album Chart, number 17 on the Billboard Top Hard Rock Album Chart, and number 9 in their home country of Germany. Next, number 12 is the Scorpions' third album, In Trance, Released on September 17th, 1975 in Europe, and was released in March of 76 here in the United States. I believe it was the first album the band worked with producer Theodore Dierks. It was also the first Scorpions album to feature their famous iconic logo. While it didn't stand out back then, there were songs that stood out like the title track, Dark Lady, and Robot Man. Not to mention the first Scorpions album to feature some controversial artwork about a woman's breast exposed while straddling over an electric guitar. Next, at number 11 is Virgin Killer. Speaking of controversial album artwork, their fourth album, Virgin Killer, I don't know what the fuck they were thinking about anyway, having a naked preteen girl on the cover with shattered glass effect obscuring her genitalia. But since its November 22nd, 1976 release, Virgin Killer reached number 32 on the album charts in Japan and even went gold. The standout tracks include Virgin Killer, Pictured Life, Polar Nights, and Yellow Raven. Let's see what's up next. We have reached the top 10, and at number 10 is the Scorpions' fifth album, Taken by Force. Released on December 4th of 1977, it was the first to feature Herman Rarebell on drums, and the last to feature Uli Jon Roth on lead guitar. Taken by Force would also be the final Scorpions album for RCA before signing with Mercury Records in 1978. The tracks that stood out for me were Steam Rock Fever, He's a Woman, She's a Man, The Sails of Charon, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, and We'll Burn the Sky, which happens to be a poem which turned into lyrics that was written by Monica Denneman, the last girlfriend of Jimi Hendrix, as a tribute to him before his death. Next, at number 9 is Pure Instinct, released on May 21st, 1996. This is their first and only album with Atlantic Records after their split with Mercury Records in 1995. The only album that features a sessions musician player on drums by the name of Kurt Kress. Since its release, it made it to number 99 on the Billboard 200, while it reached number 8 in Germany. The standout tracks include Wild Child and You and I. Pure Instinct had more ballads than non-ballads on there. Next, at number 8 is Face the Heat, their 12th studio effort, released on September 21st, 1993, and produced by Bruce Fairbairn. The song Alien Nation still remains my all-time favorite Scorpions song. Other standout tracks include Woman, Under the Same Sun, No Pain, No Gain, Unholy Alliance, and Lonely Nights. Since its release, it reached number 24 on the Billboard 200, number 4 in the German charts. Face the Heat was the last album that featured drummer Herman Rarebell on drums, and was the last for Mercury Records. Next, the Scorpions' 15th album, Unbreakable, comes in at number 7. It was released on May the 4th of 2004. This was the band's return to the style of music that made albums like Love Drive, Blackout, Love at First Sting, and Crazy World so successful. The standout tracks on this record include New Generation, Love 'Em or Leave 'Em, and Through My Eyes. Since its release, it failed to chart in the United States. However, it went gold in Russia, reached number 4 on the German charts. What is it with number 4 on the German charts? Why don't they reach number 3 or number 2 or even number 1? Next. At number 6 is the Scorpions' 7th record, Animal Magnetism. Released on March 31st of 1980. While this album reached the top 15 in their home country in Germany, it reached number 52 on the Billboard 200. It would go gold in April of 1984, 4 years after its release, and would later reach platinum in the United States in October of 1991, 11 years after its release. The standout tracks were Make It Real and the progressive and anthemic The Zoo. Next, Savage Amusement is the 10th Scorpions album at number 5. Released on April 18th, 1988, it reached the top 20 in the UK, number 4 in their home country of Germany, again, and reached number 5 on the Billboard 200, which I think remains their highest position to the Scorps got on the Billboard 200 charts. Not to mention the album was certified platinum. It was more polished, similar to Def Leppard's Hysteria, which was released a year earlier. The standout tracks from this record are Don't Stop at the Top, Believe in Love, Passion Rules the Game, Walking on the Edge, and the hit single Rhythm of Love. This album will be the last collaboration with producer Deirdre Dirks. Next, at number 4, I covered this most recently on Joe Lum's album review. It's the Scorpions' 6th record, Love Drive. Released in February of 1979, Love Drive was the first Scorpions album on Mercury Records. I mentioned this last week when I did my album review on this piece. This was the first album to feature a new hotshot guitarist by the name of Matthias Jabs. The standout tracks include Loving You Sunday Morning, Love Drive, Another Piece of Meat, and Holiday. Since its release, Love Drive made it to number 55 on the Billboard 200, number 36 in the UK, and reached number 11 in the home country of Germany. Next, the Scorpions' 8th studio record, Blackout, is at number 3. Released in March of 1982, during the writing of Blackout, singer Klaus Meine lost his voice and had to get surgery for repair. Many of the band thought he would never sing again. Then demos of Blackout were recorded with a then unknown singer by the name of Don Dokken, who would a year later release Dokken's debut album Breaking the Chains. However, none of those recordings were featured, and he only got a backing vocal credit. When Klaus Meine got his voice back, he was able to complete the record, even with a surgically repaired vocal. The standout tracks include Blackout, China White, Can't Live Without You, and No One Like You, not to mention other cuts like Dynamite and Arizona. Since its release, the album reached number 10 on the Billboard 200 and on the German charts, while it made it to number 11 in the UK and has gone platinum. Next, Love at First Sting is the number 2 Scorpions album I rank. Becoming the most successful record for them in the United States, it reached number 6 on the Billboard 200 and in their home country of Germany, and it went triple platinum. The standout tracks include the hits Rock You Like a Hurricane, Big City Nights, Still Loving You, and other cuts like Bad Boys Running Wild. I found this to be exactly what it is, the Scorpions' most popular and successful album to date here in the United States. Next, and at number 1 is the Scorpions' 11th record, Crazy World. Released on November 6, 1990. Produced by Keith Olsen. It is the second best-selling album for them in the United States, going double platinum. It is the band's first, and from what I researched, their only number 1 album in the home country of Germany. The song Wind of Change reached number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100, and it was a big hit all over the world as well. Other standout tracks include Send Me an Angel, Tease Me Please Me, Don't Believe Her, and Hit Between the Eyes. This would be the final Scorpions album to feature the classic Love Drive era, as bassist Francis Buchholz would depart from the band shortly after the Crazy World tour. Here is a quick recap of the Scorpion albums I've ranked. Now again, I haven't listened to most of the Scorpions albums from 2000 onwards. I should give Rock Believer another chance, as would Sting in the Tail, Return to Forever, and Unbreakable. I can completely dismiss Humanity Hour 1, despite the fact it was a concept album. The Scorpions really doesn't usually do concept albums. I don't know what the hell they were thinking back then. I sure as hell didn't know what the hell they were thinking when they released those controversial album covers pre-Love Drive era. Anyways, but the top 5 from Savage Amusement, Love Drive, Blackout, Love at First Sting, and Crazy World, they remain the same as my picks for the top 5 Scorpions albums in this ranking series. So that concludes this week's album rankings. See you next Sunday, folks.
Don't